Hi everyone, thank you for joining.
Hi.
How's everyone doing? Good? Yeah.
Well fed. Everybody well fed.
Yeah, everyone's well fed. So this is the first time we've done this in a live audience. I don't know if anybody's ever joined one of the webinars that I've done before on Hopin. So yeah, it's a bit weird to be here today, but exciting. We have got a lot to cover. There we go. We've got a lot to cover today. It's a big session. We've got facts and figures. We've got a live screen reader exercise, which we've never done before to a live audience. I'm going to give you a little warning. The voiceover guy is very relentless, so it might drive you crazy, but that's the aim. So please do enjoy that. And then we're going to give you some quick tips, and we're going to do a Q&A. We're going to talk about senior buy-in and all this other stuff as well. So please sit back, relax, enjoy, and we'll kick off. So hello, I'm Matt. I'm the UX UI design lead, Content Square. That's an old picture. That's from like 5 years ago. Do need to get that updated. But yeah, work with data, work with all different members of our company, from sales, marketing, and client-facing as well. We take the data and we translate that data into good design solutions. And we've also got Sue. Sue is going to introduce herself later.
Yeah, and that's an old picture of me
And
because
that's an
I've got pink hair on there, so.
All right, so let's do this. Oh, yeah, Digital Accessibility Club. Okay, so this is a question I like to ask everybody. If there's anybody in the audience, and also I want to, obviously register that we've got a virtual audience as well. Hop in. You know, as always, keep it interactive. You don't have to really keep it interactive in the live audience because there'll be too much noise. But for those at home or in the office, please feel free to add to the chat. If there's anybody in the audience here who would like to answer what comes to mind when you think of accessibility, feel free to just shout it out. Otherwise, it's more than anything, it's just to get you thinking before we begin. Okay? So really just have a good think of what comes to mind when you think of accessibility. And remember that until the end of this presentation. So, for those who have joined before, you know I like to ram these facts and figures down your throat. And, you know, we do this for a reason, right? It's that constant reminder. It's that constantly reminding yourself of accessibility as a whole. Okay? Around 1.85 billion people in the world have some type of impairment affecting their ability to read the web. So this is kind of the internet web, there's digital documents, there's all sorts that kind of go into that. Big one today with visual impairments. So with the screen reader exercise, you're going to see this. 1 in 25 people are blind or have some form of visual impairment. So that's 285 million people affected. 1 in 12 men are colorblind compared to around 1 in 200 women. 300 million affected. So the next time you're in the office or anything like that, have a look around. There may be a male in the office who struggles to see certain colors. We move on to dyslexia. 1 in 10 people have dyslexia. That's 700 million people affected. So that's almost a billion as it is. So, you know, affecting the way you read, you know, letters, words jumbled up, and so on. Again, the next time you're in the office, there may be someone in the office who has dyslexia. 1 in 11 people are 65 plus today, and 1 in 6 by 2050, 600 million affected. And just imagine now, like with the population increasing, all you people in the room, at home, we're going to be around 65 plus in 2050. So this is really something to just think about. What is it going to be like for us? What's the state of the web, digital products, all this? What's it going to be like for us in 2050? Okay? Maybe it's going to be okay. But for now, we're in, you know, not to be too dramatic, you know, it's a very poor situation that we're in. And you'll see that on the next slide. When we think of disabilities, what do people think about? Do you think of Stephen Hawking in the wheelchair user in general? Do you think of someone who's blind, who's got a guide dog, a stick? You know, there's numerous things that we think about with disability, and this stems from being a kid as well. because we don't really have that education. We're not really told. We're not aware that 80% of disabilities are actually invisible, right? So this is really something to think about. In the meantime, 70% of digital content is not accessible. That's 80% of new sites. Okay, I have to withhold sometimes, but it's pretty terrible, to be honest, 80% of new sites. And this just shows how far we've got to go to 2050 as well. So as we get older, if we start to develop some form of impairment, what's the experience going to be like for us? 2/3 of e-commerce websites. So for many people joining today, from whichever companies you're from, I'm not kind of going to attack anyone, but yeah, just kind of take a look and see. And at the end of the day, guys, we're showing humility. No one's going to get told off. No one's going to be made to be a bad person. We're all learning. This is the point of today. We're here to create a safe space. We're here to show humility, and that's what we're all, we want to kind of push. No one's a target. No one's doing anything terrible. We're all learning, and we've just got to kind of make that push. Okay, I'll leave it at that one. Larger than China, and it's emerging, as other markets have as well. So 1.85 billion people. That's a lot of people, a lot of people. I don't know what the exact population count is right now, but that's a lot of people who can't use certain products, apps, websites, and so on. Not about the money at all. I hate talking about money when it comes to accessibility, but it's just something that obviously comes with improving user experience. We know this at Content Square. It's what I do on a daily basis. I like to improve user experiences for our clients. But with that comes profit. And with accessibility, there's $2 trillion worth of annual disposable income that can be pushed in. So, yeah, big, big figures. So before we kick off, I just want to talk about the CS Foundation. I'm not sure how many people are aware of the Content Square Foundation approach, but yeah, towards the end of last year, we set up this non-profit organization that is committed to solving the inequality of accessing digital information. We're looking at developing an easy reading platform to increase the ease of reading for students with dyslexia. So as we mentioned before, 1 in 10 people have dyslexia, so that's kind of the aim for that. The objective, we are a non-profit organization. Keep a lookout. We will be having an event soon, which I've been invited to speak to, which is with great pride. And yeah, to promote digital accessibility for people with disability. And we want to kind of target education, science, social, and corporate as well. Everyone's got a responsibility. So strengthen education. Like I mentioned before, think of what disability means to you. Think of what it was like as a kid. And we've all probably been there. I speak for myself. When you think of disability, what do you think about? We're not really educated. We're not told. There's no real empathy. There's no kind of scenarios or anything like that to suggest why someone might be different from yourself. Invest in social responsibility. So investing in startups and enterprises, and ultimately it's just to raise awareness. This is why, I don't know now, like 12, 15 webinars in the year alone doing accessibility. It's very repetitive, but this is what it's about. We have to raise awareness. And I will finish with this famous quote from Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the World Wide Web. The power of the web is in its universality. Access by everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect. So just keep that in mind as well. The guy who kind of founded the World Wide Web, it's for everyone, right? Not just for us in this room, not just for a few. Everybody should be able to have access to the digital landscape. All right, Sue.
Thank you very much. Cheers, thank you. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Sue. I'm a UX designer at the Very Group. And thanks to Content Square for having me today here. I'm really excited to be on stage with Matt as well. And it's nice to see so many people here. So I'm just going to talk a little bit today about inclusive design and how I got started really into being an accessibility advocate. But there's one thing that is really important that I set out now and say is that I am not an expert. I'm not an expert at all. So I read once that to be good at accessibility, it's like playing a violin, learning to play a violin, or learning to speak a foreign language. If you don't practice, you won't be any good at it. And I think that's quite apt. So I've really learned a lot of my knowledge, which has just been on the job. So I've worked with lots of designers and really closely with developers. And that's where it's getting hands-on and getting into the weeds of things where you can try and really understand it. So I think today is one of the things we want to get out today is like me and Matt really want to help you just to take some small actionable steps back where you can just get started. You could even go back into the office tomorrow and get started if you want. But my ultimate goal really is for us to design and build digital products that don't exclude anyone. It's not necessary. So, seeing as you're all here today, I hope there's a good chance that you want to learn a little bit more about accessibility. So either you don't know where to start or you've not started at the moment, or you want to build on the knowledge that you already have. So that's great, you've come to the right place. But I think it's really important in how we frame accessibility. Accessibility does not mean disability. It means building digital products that support flexible interactions for different user needs, whether they be permanent, temporary, or situational. So what do we mean by that? So I think this infographic does a really good job of kind of explaining what those different user needs may be and also the context of those. And I think that people sometimes think that people with permanent disabilities are like a target audience for accessibility, but that's not the case at all. It's more about providing an equivalent experience for people and also allowing people to have a choice about how they wish to interact with your digital product or service, giving people a choice. And this quote here from Marcus Osterberg in his book, Web Strategy for Everyone, I think sums it up quite nicely, really. So it's, when speaking of disabilities, the blind and their needs are most often used as an example. It is deceivingly simplistic, since accessibility is something most of the population can benefit from. We all benefit when we are tired, in bright sunshine with a mobile, are forced to use a gaming mouse with too high sensitivity, or receive the text version of a video clip when we have forgotten our earphones or are in a quiet environment. So, before I became a UX designer, similar to what Matt was saying earlier, when I thought about accessibility, I thought about wheelchairs, ramps, lifts, I thought about Braille, I thought about subtitles, and I think that is quite a limited but quite a common view, to be honest. So when I started, my first role was at the BBC, actually, as a UX designer, and I was working in children's games, and the BBC delivers value for all, and one of the values it holds in its public charter is this. So the BBC should help everyone learn about different subjects in ways they will find accessible, engaging, inspiring, and challenging. Now, when I joined the team, it's really important to say an awful lot of work had already happened before I joined. And what the team had done is they'd created a number of inclusive gameplay prototypes. And they'd actually been out to a lot of schools and tested it with an awful lot of children with different user needs, different access needs, and also a wide range of assistive tech. So the insights that we got from that was so valuable, and it really helped us understand assistive tech and like the different aspects of that and how unique it can be to that child. But also it really helped us to embed accessibility into the foundations of gameplay. So when I first started, I found it really confusing, to be honest, and I found it really overwhelming. If you look at the WCAG accessibility guidelines, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, They're really confusing. I don't know if anyone's had a look at them, but I found them really confusing. And ironically, I found them really inaccessible as well. So I'll touch on that a little bit later. So for me, this was a great, if what, simplistic place to start. So it was based on the 4 principles. So vision, make it easy to see. Cognitive, make it easy to understand. Motor, make it easy to interact with. And finally, hearing, make it easy to hear. So I was lucky, there was loads and loads of learning opportunities at the BBC. First thing I did was volunteer to become an accessibility champion. Now, accessibility champion, you weren't expected to be an expert at all. It was a network of accessibility champions, and I guess whatever project or product you were working on, you kind of wore the accessibility hat and put yourself in those shoes. So we were always making sure that we were building inclusive products. However, if you didn't know the answer, it was like, do you know what, I don't know, but I'm going to go and find out. And we were really lucky because we had, as I say, we had the Champions Network. We had internal resources like learning resources, but we had a Slack channel. And the Slack channel was full of conversations, questions, articles that had been posted, huge number of discussions. So there was the ability to do that. It was a massive learning resource. It was great, kept the conversation going. We also had our children's games design system, and this was like at the heart of everything that we built out. And that had also been through numerous usability testing studies, so we were quite confident in that. We had our accessibility games framework. Now, this was like embedded when we handed this out to our games design partners, external partners. So this was to ensure consistency in the design of our products and our games, but also part of that was to ensure that at least one of the principles was embedded in the gameplay. And very, very often we pushed for 2 as much as we could. So every single game that was released on CBBC or CBeebies hits at least one accessibility pillar. I was really lucky enough to be invited to go to a games conference. So GAConf, it's a specialist games accessibility conference which happens every year. I was really lucky enough the time I went, it happened to be in Paris, so that was great. But it was just a huge valuable learning experience for me. There was 2 days of talks, and it was, on lots of different things, whether it like colourblindness was a topic as well. There was things around cognitive issues as well, and settings for games, and it was just huge for me. I also travelled with a colleague, Jamie, who is also autistic, and he gave a talk, and he had a slide on it, and I'll never forget it. And the statement on the slide simply said, as designers, we disable people when we don't get it right. And that's always kind of stuck with me, going forward. It was just a statement on a slide, but like I've clung on to that as much as I could. I then went and worked in the Voice and AI department at the BBC, and I worked on like the Alexa children's skill, but was also involved in an early proof of concept, I guess, which was Beeb, which was BBC's voice assistant. Now, it was really interesting project, because you say voice experience, it's voice, but we worked with Microsoft really closely on this, and it was a multimodal experience. So yes, there was the voice experience, the hearing aspect to it, but there was also a screen. So we had to ensure that it was a great experience for everyone, and people who have limited mobility or limited vision are very often early adopters for voice technology. So it was absolutely crucial that we got it right. And also, because it was the BBC and we designed for all, we had to ensure that if people couldn't hear, that it was an equal quality experience just from the screen as well. So it was a really complex project, but I'm really proud of it, and we absolutely made sure that it was inclusively designed. So yeah, and then I got to work at the Very Group, where I joined back in March. So one of the things about working at Very is one of our objectives is making good things easily accessible to more people. So the first thing I want to point out is that nobody ever sets out to build an inaccessible website. It's just a series of decisions and conversations and knowledge and budget and time. And so nobody ever sets out to build an inaccessible website. No one ever wants to do that. So I think it's just a case of, we have a retro with our mantra, is like people did the best thing that they could at the time with the knowledge, and I think it's really important, like exactly what Matt was saying, we're not calling anybody out, we're all learning together, it's ongoing. So yeah, I joined back in March, and it was a really exciting time to join the Very Group. There was 3 key initiatives that were all coming together at the same time. So we just had an audit delivered by the RNIB, and it was a site-wide audit. Now, it wasn't nice to hear, and it wasn't great to read, but that's where we were. And, it enabled us to kind of set out a roadmap and look at what we could prioritise, what should we be focusing on first, where are our quick wins. We're also in a really lucky position as well, is that we are moving away from a really old legacy tech platform onto a brand new responsive tech platform. So there's lots of investment happening, and this is going to enable us to do so many more things. And at the same time, we're actually building out a Fuse design system. So yeah, this is our design system that we're working on. So these 3 things coming together at once is just, it's a really exciting time for us. So we shared the audit around the business, and we spoke to, senior leaders, we spoke to colleagues around the business, this even went up to our board, so, we're really keen to get things right, and we're really keen for the challenge ahead of us. So when we're saying, the Very Group say we're rewriting retail, we actually really are. So much so, we're taking it so seriously, is that we've made it one of the strategic objectives for the next financial year for us, for DCX, Digital Customer Experience. So we know it's not going to be easy, and we know it's going to be hard, but we're really up for the challenge of that. So what have we been doing since March? So just quickly, I'll just go through these. So we know that automated testing can be really useful, in terms of identifying some really quick fixes, but we felt like we needed something to bridge that gap. It can give you a false sense of security, like a tick box exercise, we've got that right, when really you need to get things in front of users. So we heard about Fable, and Fable are a usability research specialist, and they've got a wide range of a diverse community of people with different access needs and also different assistive tech. So we've been using Fable. We've used them to benchmark where we are at the moment, and we're going to continue to use them through further usability testing sessions to get us where we want to be. For the time being, we know that we've got some basic things to fix. So what we're going to do is use them to build out our Fuse design system, or help us do that. So we're going to go from a component level up to page level to make sure that all our components and pages are accessible and AA compliant. And the thing is, with assistive technologies, it's quite unique to the user. It's quite unique to that person. So what might work for me might not work for Matt. It's very unique. So this is where Fable come in, to be able to give us access to these kind of participants. We've also been running some internal education sessions. So the last ones we've been focusing on have been about alt tags. So we thought we'd get some really quick wins out of this. And it's not as straightforward. Alt tags, is it decorative? Is it informative? Is it functional? We've been looking at alt tag principles. What are our alt tag principles? Where about in the design and build process do they get dropped in? Is it for a designer to decide? What's the context of it? So we've had loads and loads of fun running these sessions, and we've all learned absolutely loads, myself included. It's been fantastic. We're going to be running some internal education sessions again further into the next few months, and we're going to get some external speakers in. So, and we've also reached out and said to our colleagues, what do you want to know about? What can we bring in? How can we learn together? What's the next thing we want to do? So these have been fun. And our ambition is to have an accessibility champion network. That's where we want to end up, and that's where we want to be. So it's a really exciting time. Finally, I just want to say, and I think it's really important, that accessibility is a team game. I'm a UX designer. And, you know, sometimes it can get left to UX, you know, it's up to the UX to fix. So yes, it is a user experience problem, but more so than that, it's actually a huge business problem if you are excluding your website from being accessed by a large amount of the population. So I'm going to hand you back to Matt, and we're going to try and attempt to do this screen reader demo, so bear with us, it's not been done before.
Yeah, guys, this is the first time, so I'll just get set up. That ran over a little bit longer, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was impactful. Some quick wins.
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, so we'll blast through these, and then we're going to get we've got some quick questions as well. So if you've got any questions as well, just to kind of, you know, get ahead of time, have a little think, get them ready for the next Slido.
Yeah, so this is a great one. We've just seen it in action, actually. So yeah, it's making sure that the pages are keyboard accessible. If we'd have gone and had a look at Office Depot, we would have had was it Office Depot or the Harvey Norman? You would have got the chance to see us jumping into the search button and staying, staying in the search button, typing in what you wanted, visual cues all showing up, and then not even being able to get there because you were locked into that pit on the website with a screen reader and keyboard. So yeah, just adding in skip links. So you don't want to go through all of this. You know, it's been able to give people the opportunity to skip to the next part rather than tabbing all the way through and getting all that rubbish that they're not interested in. So here we got them here.
Just the skip to main content. Yeah, and then the skip to footer as well. So we didn't have that with Nordstrom.
Nope.
Office Depot do have that. So we would have been able to skip through that navigation really quickly to get to like the main content. So imagine again with Black Friday coming up, stuff like that. You don't want to go through all the navigation links. You just want to get to those kind of 50% off banners. You can skip all of that and get straight to those banners without having to go through every single menu item. So next one, contrast ratio. Some of you have probably seen this before, but yeah, just kind of telling you what it is again. It's a contrast ratio. It's between two colors. Number 1, so white on white here, and then 21 with black text on a white background. So that's the highest contrast we can get. So if you can see there, it's all pass, and you can see here, it's all fail because the text is actually invisible. And what we want to be looking for is around 4.51. That's what we kind of deem accessible. It can drop down to a 3.1, but only if it's kind of bolded at 18.5, and also large at 24, so greater or equal to that. But we want to be aiming for 4.51. And a lot of sites don't get close to 4.51.
Yeah. And there's some great Chrome plugins for that as well, isn't there? You know, some brilliant Chrome plugins that you can just install, and you can just check things out on a live site, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just go through this now, getting the time from James. Okay, so we've got the alt text as well. This is from Very with Sue. So you can see here the image alt, accessorized Soho soft beanie, and then you can see that it's right there on that. So when we go through with that kind of voiceover, it's going to read out that. Many, many, many websites do not include the alt text. So when it goes through, a lot of the time it reads out the image, and it's just horrendous to listen to. And
this is a great example as well of it's an informative one. So we're seeing what brand it is and what it actually is. And this is like where there's nuances between the different types of alt tags.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got, I don't know if we've got much time. I'm looking at James. He'll give us a couple more minutes. 2 questions. All right, so we did have the Slido. But if we keep on this one here. We've got some questions already. I don't think we're going to have time for the Slido. No. So if we just go to our pre-prepared questions that we gathered before. So I can just ask Sue a couple of these, and it's about senior buying. So, Sue, senior buying. There's so much to talk about and so much to learn. Execs will never have the time to fully engage in this topic. Any advice on how to approach this?
Now, I know I'm in quite a privileged position as well, where we are at Very. We've got these 3 huge initiatives happening, which has given us a great opportunity. And I know that some people won't be in that situation. So what we've done in terms to make it a strategic objective, we were able to show them the Fable usability study. So we were able to show them a clip of somebody trying to navigate our website who didn't have any vision, and we gave them a task, and yeah, that was worth 20 emails, 10 meetings. It was my UX manager, showed it to the board in 5 minutes, and it was like, budget, yes, straight away, yes, absolutely. So, but another way of doing that as well is, if you are on mobile or desktop, put your screen reader on and video your screen and show them what task you're trying to do. Show them what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve. And yeah, screen reader, it does take practice. Like me and Matt before, we're still looking at crib sheets, looking to see what, it does take practice. But that is just worth so much. Like, like show, don't tell. Yeah.
All right, guys, I think that's going to be it. So in terms of questions, I know we've kind of gone over time. We're going to be around for drinks afterwards.
Yeah.
Much needed. Come over, we can talk if you'd like to talk more about accessibility. What's a good way to really immerse them in the shoes of their customers? Hey, Mr. Mrs. Exec, let's do a live voiceover, please.
If you're brave enough.
If you're brave enough. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.